Hi everyone, and welcome to our video on angle measures. So we can measure angles in two different ways. We can measure in degrees or we can measure in radians. So they're both usually based on measuring in the standard position. So you could draw just random angles, like here's just a random angle right there. Okay, and we usually use the symbol theta for it. Okay, so that's just like a random geometric drawing of an angle. However, to make things easier for us, we usually like to do our angles in standard position. So standard position means we draw our axis. So there's our XY axis, XY. And we always start, let's mark it in blue. So like I'm going to do a positive angle theta. We always start with our initial side on the x-axis. And then if it's positive, we go counterclockwise. Okay, so let's say, pretend that's where our angle ends up. So we went some length there like that. So that would be a positive theta in this case. Okay, and then we'll measure it based on actual numbers like you can see below, but let's do one other. Let's do the negative angle in red here. So if I again have a XY axis, our angle always starts with initial position on the positive x-axis, a negative angle, so whatever it happens to be, let's go this far over. So this is theta, this time it's negative, so it'd be a negative number. And our terminal side would be wherever the angle ends. Okay, so let's even mark it on this one. So that our initial side's always on the positive x-axis. Our terminal side in this problem puts us down in quadrant 3. Okay, and remember the quadrants, one other little sketch here that I'm just going to kind of mark. Remember we have quadrant 1 in the top right, quadrant 2 in the top left, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Okay, so once we have an angle sketched, we would know the quadrant that we're in. All right, so on our problem here, it says use the circle shown in the rectangular coordinate system to draw each angle in standard position. State the quadrant in which the angle lies. All right, so sometimes they draw the circle for us. We'll see a connection with that soon, or we might already know the connection with it. But so it doesn't have to be just the axes. These problems, they could have been. Okay, so like on the first one, we'll draw it twice. Okay, so 225. All right, so if this is our initial side right here, and if I don't go anywhere, that means I would have gone an angle of 0 degrees. And then we know that the XY axis is broken into 90 degrees. Okay, so we know that that's a right angle right here. And then we know there's another 90-degree angle. So that means we would say over to the left side is 180 degrees if I were to measure that all the way right there. Okay, so I'm going to erase these little parts in the blue that I'm sketching, but I'm just marking it for now. If I were to go all the way here, that's another 90. So that means that would be at 270. And then if I go one full rotation, so like if you know about like snowboarding or skateboarding, you know that that's a 360. So one full turn around is 360. Okay, so that's a little messy. So that's why we usually just mark kind of the 90, 180, 270 to the side. But let me get rid of those and leave it like that. All right, so anyway, so the 225, well, 225 degrees is right in between 180 and 270. So those little tick marks on the circle are kind of just trying to show a little bit more accuracy to our picture. But it looks like it should be right in between like that. So this angle right here is the 225 degrees. Okay, so we see that we would end up in quadrant 3. So if it asked, hey, where are you? So it says state the quadrant in which the angle lies. Yeah, we're in quadrant 3. Okay, so that's how these ones work. So let's look at negative 60. So negative 60 degrees. Again, our initial side's always toward the positive x-axis. Negative 60. So the negative is just telling you go clockwise. Okay, so clockwise 60 degrees is probably about here. Okay, so that right there, there's the negative 60 degrees. And then we see that we're in quadrant 4. And then our last angle here, 300 degrees. Okay, so again, just to mark it, here's 0 degrees, here's 9 degrees, here's 180 degrees, and here's 270 degrees. And then one full rotation around is 360. Well, we see 300 is between 270 and 360. 300 is closer to 270. Okay, so we've got our initial side, and then it would go around to probably about there, where that other kind of tick mark is. Okay, so that is 300 degrees, which also puts us in quadrant 4. Okay, let's box those quadrants. Okay, so that's how we can draw angles. One thing to notice about number 2 and number 3 here is that they are in the same exact spot. Okay, so notice negative 60 and 300, their terminal ray or their terminal side is in the same exact spot. Okay, so terminal side is in same exact spot. So that can happen. What we would say then is that these are coterminal angles. Okay, so more on that later, just to kind of make a mention of it right now. Okay, anyway, well, that's how we sketch them. Okay, so that, at least with degrees, so we said we could do it in radians. We're going to see that in a second, but degrees are easier to sketch, at least for now. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have questions, please let me know.